In earlier part, we had discussed about the structure of kidney, structure of nephron, the different parts of excretory system. Now student, in this part, we will talk about blood supply of kidney, steps of urine formation, physical properties of urine, right? Now number one point is blood supply to the kidney. How the blood enters into the kidney. This is a very, I will not say famous, but it is very lovable point from this lesson of the paper setter, that at least one question has asked in board exams in each year in one or the other form. So how the blood enters into the kidney and leaves from the kidney. If you can recollect, in earlier part I told you that we will talk about the blood vessels which are entering and leaving from the kidney. It is a part of our scope of syllabus. Now the diagram which is there in front of you shows abdominal aorta, inferior vena cava, renal artery and renal vein. Isn't it? Now let's go. Number one is aorta. The blood from aorta, that is the biggest artery of our body, comes into its branch called as abdominal aorta, and from that aorta the blood enters into renal artery. From the renal artery it enters into afferent arteriole. The blood flow from afferent arteriole enters into glomerulus. From glomerulus it leaves the nephron and enters into efferent arteriole. The blood from efferent arterioles enters into the capillary network which is present in and around the nephron. If you can see from figure 9.3, nephron is surrounded with number of blood capillaries. So this all group of capillaries are called as vasa recta. So the blood from efferent artery enter into vasa recta. From vasa recta it enters into renal vein, and from renal vein the blood enters into inferior vena cava. This inferior vena cava will pour the blood into right auricle. So this is called as blood supply to the kidney. Now right now the figure on your screen is colored. That's why you can easily say that from which blood vessel the blood is entering and from which blood vessel the blood is coming. But in exam, the direction of the arrows will help us in identifying the blood vessel, since we do not have color diagram in our exam, right? Let's go to the steps of urine formation. Steps in urine formation, also known as physiology of urine formation. It includes three important steps. Number one is ultrafiltration. Now student, the first likely question from ultrafiltration is where it occurs and what is its definition. So definition is right now in front of your screen. It is the filtration of blood under extraordinary force. It is the filtration of blood under extraordinary force. Location, it will take place in the glomerulus, and once it takes place, the filtrate form is called as glomerular filtrate. Whatever filtrate is produced is called as what? Glomerular filtrate. And what it contains? It contains the liquid or plasma part of the blood. Now please come to this diagram. The same diagram, or the simplest view of this diagram, is given on page number 117, figure 9.4. This also you have to draw in your notebook. Now please tick mark that figure 9.4, and if you see a paragraph given just above that diagram with a number of bold words, we will have a question in an exam: complete the paragraph. So this paragraph likely to be asked, correct? Not these many lines, can be modified. So you have to mark this paragraph important also for complete the paragraph. Now please come back to this diagram on the screen. If you see the direction of arrows, first is red arrows. It shows the direction of blood entering into the glomerulus. It will get filtered. Now there are two reasons. Student, why the blood will get filtered over here is the difference in the diameter of afferent and efferent arteriole. Afferent arteriole has a bigger diameter compared to the efferent arteriole, so it will create a pressure inside the glomerulus. And second, the blood which is entering inside the glomerulus is having its own pressure. We called it as our blood pressure. So because of these two pressure, the blood will get filtered. And fortunately or unfortunately, whatever filtrate is produced will have both harmful as well as useful substance. That's why we will not use the term urine immediately after ultrafiltration. Correct? So we'll move on to the next step of urine formation, selective reabsorption. As I just told you that glomerular filtrate contains useful as well as harmful substances. Now what type of useful substance filtrate is having? Number 1, glucose. Number 2, amino acids, proteins, vitamins. All these things need to be reabsorbed since body cannot tolerate or cannot afford the loss of all these substances. Therefore, the second step is selective reabsorption. Mind this word selective because it is not mentioned in our book. And in our book on page number 117, if you see, only reabsorption is mentioned. And at the end of this paragraph, they are explaining about selective reabsorption. Okay. Now you have to observe two important blocks from this figure. This blue color boxes talk about selective reabsorption and this pink color box talk about something else. Correct? Now if you see this blue color boxes, just below those blue color boxes, you will see that the arrows are coming out from the nephron. Correct? PCT, if you see glucose, amino acid, protein box, uske niche, can you see this arrow is coming out from the nephron? DCT, the arrow is coming out from the nephron. Loop of Henle, water, H2O, the arrow is coming out from the nephron. Again, in another arm of loop of Henle, Na plus, K plus, Cl minus, the arrow is coming out from the nephron. What does this mean? This means that selective reabsorption is the process whereby certain molecules are reabsorbed from glomerular filtrate. Correct? This glomerular filtrate after coming in Bowman capsule will pass from PCT, loop of Henle, DCT. Correct? So during this journey, all these products will be reabsorbed. Where it will get reabsorbed? कहाँ जाएंगे वो? Again, for the reference, please look at figure 9.3, page 116. Can you see that blood capillaries? It is surrounding PCT, loop of Henle, DCT. So all these products will enter back into the blood. Correct? Into the capillaries, and then it will be taken outside to the renal vein and it connects to the inferior vena cava. Let's come to the third step, tubular secretion. Now what is tubular secretion? Again, before going ahead with tubular secretion, I will request to look at this blue box which is shown near the PCT. Can you see urea, uric acid? These are not useful compounds or substances. This need to be eliminated, but by a mistake, along with the substances or the components mentioned above, these two reabsorb by mistake. So it's not a practical approach to perform this excretion process again. Therefore, this urea, uric acid, and now come to this pink color boxes. Creatinine, hydrogen ions, ammonium ion, potassium ions, and some drugs, particularly the antibiotic what we had consumed. Correct? All these will need to be again secreted in the tubules. Now how many tubules we are having? We are having two tubules. PCT, T stand for tubule, DCT, again a tubule. Now look at the arrow from this pink color box? That arrowhead is pointing inside the nephron. It is going towards the nephron. It is not coming out from the nephron. Hence it is called as tubular secretion. Look at the definition. The passage of certain substances like K plus I and penicillin back to the DCT is called as what? Tubular secretion. Correct? Now students, once this entire process complete, the filtrate now will come into collecting duct. Now collecting duct is shown extreme right hand side of your screen, where again there is one important check. अगर वहाँ पे excess of water है या फिर certain amount of urea is present, it will be checked again and then this filtrate can be called as urine. Okay, now this final urine will pass into the collecting ducts, then into the pelvis through the ureter into the urinary bladder. Fine. Now once this urine is formed, it will be stored in urinary bladder and will be thrown out by a process called as micturition. Fine. Let's go ahead. Physical properties of urine. Number one, the volume of urine which is produced in 24 hours is 1 to 1.5 liters. Color, it is pale yellow due to presence of urochrome. Now what is urochrome? Student, you know one of the important bile pigment is bilirubin. So in the liver, this bilirubin is converted into less toxic substance called as urochrome, which is yellow in color, and this urochrome imparts color to the urine. Correct? Next is pH. The pH of the urine varies from 5 to 8 depending on what type of diet we are consuming. If we consume too much amount of protein, then since it contains amino acids, the pH will be towards 5. And if you consume green leafy vegetables, that time, since they contains more amount of salt, the pH will go towards the 8. But average pH of the blood is always towards 6. That's why we say that urine is acidic in nature. Odor. The odor of the urine, of standing urine means which is not flowing, it is get accumulated in on some part of the land, then it will smell like ammonia, a very pungent and irritating smell. Specific gravity, not so much important to remember. Right? Now we'll go to the next point, that is constituents of urine. Constituent means these are always present in the urine. Organic one, which are produced in our body. Inorganic, what we have consumed through our food. Urea, creatinine and uric acid and other substances, while inorganic contains sodium chloride, potassium chloride and ammonia. See, nobody will ask you what is the quantity of or what is the gram per liter quantity of organic or inorganic substances in urine in your board exam. So if you remember only the name of the organic constituent, that is sufficient. Right? We'll go. So now these are called as normal constituent, but sometime abnormal constituents are also present in the urine. The meaning of this word is they are never should present in normal condition. But number one, the blood cells can be present in urine and the condition is called as hematuria. And this hematuria can occur due to internal damage to the kidney, ureter or urinary bladder or any kind of bacterial infection. The color of the blood will changes immediately to red. This is called as hematuria. Right? Second, glucose. Now, a normal healthy person will never pass glucose through urine. But a diabetic patient may experience the presence of glucose in the urine. Condition is called as glycosuria. Please don't forget this word, glycosuria. You will immediately see the color of the urine will change. Correct? Will have a slight yellow color tinge. Third important constituent is albumin. Albumin is a protein present in most of the part of our body, particularly muscles and blood. And if the muscles get torn or damaged, this albumin is released into the blood and then it carries into the urine. And this presence of albumin is called as proteinuria. It is called as what? Proteinuria. Right? Now look at here. To your right side, it's a normal urine, and to your left side, the bottle contains a urine loaded with albumin, slightly cloudy or dark appearance. Fine. The last is bile pigments, and these bile pigments are present in our urine only in case of jaundice. So these are called as abnormal constituents of urine. Don't forget hematuria, glycosuria. Okay, we'll move on to the next point. Regulation of urine output means who controls the production of urine. In endocrine system, you might have discussed about the posterior lobe of pituitary gland, as it secretes a hormone called as ADH, anti-diuretic hormone. Okay, this anti-diuretic hormone regulates the urine output, as it will decide how much amount of water need to be reabsorbed through DCT or through urine. Correct? But insufficient secretion of ADH causes diabetes insipidus. Now you will be amazed how the hormone is secreted in lesser quantity. If a person consumes too many times, I'm repeating the word, too much nahi bola maine, too many times the following substances, that is liquid diets, coffee or tea, these substances are called as diuretics, and these substances will simply block the pituitary gland, and pituitary gland will fail to release ADH, and therefore a person who consumes these substances will use the washroom more frequently, because less secretion of ADH will result into loss of more water from urine, person will become thirsty, and the cycle goes on. One more important diuretic substance I forgot to mention is alcohol. Okay. The another important function of kidney apart from excretion is osmoregulation. The definition of osmoregulation is, it is the regulation of osmotic pressure of a blood, or it is the regulation of water and salt concentration in blood. Now how kidney perform this? You know very well that urine contains excess water, excess salt. Now if the body requires more amount of water, kidney will reduce its production of urine. There will be more absorption of water from the urine, and if the body is facing a deficiency of salt, then salt will be reabsorbed. How many of you have experienced these two conditions? In summer, the frequency of urine decreases, urination decreases. We do not visit washroom so frequently in summer. This is because already the water has lost through perspiration or sweating. So kidney will try to reimburse or restore that particular loss of water through reabsorption of water from kidney. But in winter, there is less chances of sweating or perspiration, so more amount of water need to excrete out through urine. That's why frequency of urination in the winter increases. Now if you turn to the page number 119 of our textbook, second column, second paragraph, that paragraph explains about what happens in cholera. Cholera is a bacterial disease, as we discussed already in grade 9. Now in cholera, the major symptoms are, number one is diarrhea and second is vomiting. So during this diarrhea and vomiting, already the water lost from the body. Therefore, there is scarcity of water develops in the body, particularly in the blood, and kidney fail to excrete urea, and therefore more amount of urea get accumulated in the body, or to be precise, in the blood. In the same paragraph, students, if you look at third last line, in bracket there is a one word is mentioned called as uremia. This uremia stand for accumulation of urea in the blood. Any word which has a suffix called as mia stands for in the blood, and the first three letters of this word ure, it means urea in the blood. So if a person is suffering with cholera and enters into the second stage, that is uremia, it can be fatal, and in that case a patient or that person may lose its life. So the immediate first aid for the cholera patient is ORS, that is oral rehydration solution. We'll move to the next point, and that is dialysis. If one of the kidney is damaged or removed from our body for some reason, the other kidney is alone sufficient for excretion. But if both the kidneys are permanently damaged, then we have to go for another step or another procedure called as dialysis. Now, can you please name the artery which supply blood to the kidney? Yes, it is renal artery. But we will not remove the blood from renal artery during dialysis. During dialysis, what we do, we will take out the radial artery. I'm very sorry, we will take out the blood from radial artery, supply that blood to the dialysis machine. The machine will purify the blood, and we will return that blood to the vein of same arm. Correct? Now this dialysis cost somewhere around 50,000 odds, and it need to be performed maybe twice in a week. So you can count how much cost it will take for one dialysis patient per month, per year, and so on and so forth. So this is about dialysis. We will not discuss much since it's just an extra information for all of us, right? When we will meet in the school, we will have a discussion. Okay, now that's it from my side. You will see it that we have already uploaded a job sheet on excretory system. I hope you have learned some things from this video presentation. I request you to go through with the lesson first and then appear for the test. We'll very soon come back to you with the new lesson. Till that time, thank you so much and take care of yourself.